Hello, welcome back. This is part 3, and we're going to go ahead and finish up with texturing the floor and adding the textures. Again, I'm going to get you started, and then you're going to go ahead and finish it by importing all the textures into the right channels. Again, watching the table tutorial part 1 if you need to kind of refresh on how to add the textures to each channel. Excuse me. I'm going to right click over the object, go to Assign New Material. Under Arnold, go to Shader, and then click on AI Standard Surface. Rename that texture to be something like Floor TX. Okay. And we're going to go in here and start adding the color, the metalness, the roughness, and the bump map, which is the normal map. So we're going to pause the video and we'll come back and see the results. And if you have trouble adding the textures to the right channels, make sure you watch the texturing tutorial part 1 where you're adding textures in Maya to the object. So that's part 1. All right, so I'll come back and see how you did. Okay, we're back, and the texture on the floor is completely done. Again, if you're having trouble adding the textures to the right channels, then please watch video tutorial part 1 for adding the textures to the right channels. That's part 1 for the videos, part 1. All right, so we've got the chairs done, the table done, the dish, the spheres, and the floor. Now we got to add texture or a material to the glass. Since the glass is glass, we are going to add a glass material. It will not need a texture on it, so we're going to go ahead and add a texture. I'll show you how to add a predefined material to it. So we're going to click on one of the glasses. We're going to make sure the glass is UV mapped. I don't know if it is. I don't think it matters when you're adding material to an object because we're not going to be using the UV coordinates, so it's okay not to have it texture or UV mapped. So I'm going to right click over it, go to Assign New Material, go to Arnold Shader, go to AI Standard Surface. We're going to call this Glass Texture TX. There we go. I'm going to hit Enter. And we're not going to mess with this at all. We're going to go right into Presets. And we're going to scroll down to Glass. Okay, Glass Replace. Okay, there we go. Glass Replace. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the other glass. Since this is a material, I'm just going to right click over it and go to Assign Existing Material. And then I'm going to find Glass Texture and click on it. And to do that for all of them, assign Existing Material and find Glass. Right click over the object, the glass, and go to Assign Existing Material and click on Glass. There we go. So those glasses are now, they have a material that are transparent. If I click on the material on glass, you can see if you go in terms of transmission, let's see, subsurface, coat, sheen, emission, and look at that. You can see the presets are already in there. And there isn't much to that. So if I go into transmission, this will allow me to change the color of the object, which is kind of cool. So if you want to give it kind of a color, then you can. I'm going to give it a color, but it's going to be very, very faint. It's going to have a very faint green tone to it. Okay? That just gives it more, because glass tends to be a green tint depending on manufacturing. It's a very light green tint. You could even go lighter green than that if you wanted to. Okay, just a really smidgen of a tint of green. There's our scene. There's not much we can do without, that's our texture right now. So we're going to get into showing you how to add rendering. Now again, we're not going to do the walls. This is what you're going to be turning in if you don't want to do extra credit. Adding the walls and the textures and the rendering with the walls, then you'll get extra credit, 10 points. But right now we're just going to focus on our scene that we have here. Okay, in the next video, since everything's textured, we are going to go into lighting and then starting to render. I'll see you in the next video on rendering.